Hey, everybody, it's Dr. John. Welcome back, and thank you for joining me today. I am with Bnxtlvl Health, and today I'm going to be covering our spiritual pillar. Remember that I said in my last couple videos, I like to focus on three pillars of health: mental, physical, and of course, spiritual. The reason is because I want to actually explore universal spiritual wisdom, right? I want to understand the practices, I want to understand their principles, and I want to use these timeless teachings to enrich our lives, right? So, whether you align with a specific faith or you're just simply curious like I am, this is about embracing shared truths. So, let's just get right into this, you guys. The first thing we're going to cover, and just to give you a little heads up of our roadmap here, we're going to start with these universal spirituality meanings. So, like, what does this mean to me, and what should it mean for you? So, we're going to talk about how it connects discipline and service, and then we're going to dig deep into daily practices. So we're really going to focus on four hermetic principles, and I'll tell you a little bit more about this as we dive in. But we're going to talk about how to keep spirituality fun, keep it engaging, right? We don't want this to be boring. We want to look at these influential teachers from our past, because history can really explain a lot about our lives and how to be better and work together, for your holistic journey. So without further ado, let's just do it. Let's do it, right? So, what is universal spirituality? I really do believe that it transcends a single religion. And the reason I'm covering it like this, the reason I want to have an inclusive approach and find some of these common values among these religious beliefs is because, one, we're going to discover what can compassion do for us. We're going to discover how can we grow personally and how can we get a deeper sense of meaning. And that's very important to me because I am somebody who struggled with religious beliefs my whole entire life. In fact, growing up, I really started, I'm going to try to make this a long story short. I went from being the kid who kind of believed in God and the kid who tried to ask to be saved by Jesus Christ, but I never truly dove deep into the books. They bored me. I couldn't keep up with the lingo, and some of the stories just didn't make sense to me. And I often found people arguing against, religious beliefs. And then I'd grow up looking at other cultures and seeing how other cultures practice different beliefs. And it's like, man, what's the truth? I want to believe it all, but let me just find out for myself. And what happened was throughout my life, I started to disconnect with any religion, any faith, and I started to become more of what you would call an agnostic. I just didn't really know what to believe. I didn't believe in much. I wasn't necessarily an atheist, but I just wasn't sure. And then I got into the health field, and then I got into other areas of my life, like chiropractic, that talked about innate intelligence and talked about all these philosophical beliefs. And let me just say this. When I started to lose faith, when I started to lose my connection with God or a higher being, I started to lose myself. I started to go down a path that I didn't love. There was times in my life where I truly wasn't sure if I even loved myself, and that hurt. That hurt a lot. And in fact, a lot of bad things started to happen in my life that I don't necessarily share with others because it's personal, right? And it digs and it cuts deep, and it you don't want to open up those scars, right? You don't want to open up Pandora's box or let out those can of worms sometimes in life. So that's why I discovered this, this Be Next Level Health initiative or movement that I want to do, because I know there's more people out there that were like me that aren't tied to anything special, right? They don't have a deeper sense of personal beliefs. And so, whether you want wisdom in ancient texts, right? Because it's there. Whether you want to start meditating because it helps, or you have some teaching or core value that you can find in these religions, it's going to help unite us all together. And we can find a wide range of sources. We can learn from any of these and apply these lessons to our everyday life and watch how things get better. One of the biggest things that I love with religion is the idea of delayed gratification, the idea of discipline. I mean, this is great, right? Because these paths are going to remind us to think long term. It's not about the instant wins. You don't plant a seed and eat the fruit the next day. It takes time, right? So it reminds us to think about that long term, like karma. Karma is something that we all know about, and we'll talk about it whether we believe in a god or not, whether we believe in Buddhist or Taoist thoughts and traditions or not. How about heaven, right? Heaven is something that you don't just get there. Enlightenment, it doesn't happen overnight. You have to detach yourselves, and these are things that we'll talk about. Now, what do these concepts encourage, right? They yield greater reward later because they encourage patience. They encourage discipline. So if we accept these, it's going to strengthen our discipline. So instead of indulging in quick fixes, right, we need to invest in habits that benefit our future selves. Fitness goals, personal goals, right? Whatever it is, it's going to help you to grow in the future. And it's going to pay off, right? Think of it like investing. You invest in the stock markets. If you're a daily trader, more power to you. Tried it, been there, done it, did not like it, lost about, I'll just say $900 in one day. And I was like, oh my gosh, this is scary. I can't do that again because the stress that comes with it, right? But here, let's get back on the railroad tracks here. What I'm trying to do is get you to know that if you invest, weekly, monthly, and just little bits at a time, whatever you can do, those dividends will add up. Over time, those investments are going to pay back later in life, but you have to believe in something, right, in order to invest in it. So let's talk about love. Let's talk about volunteering. Across all faiths, service is key. This is what I'm finding out. And even when we talk about longevity, when we talk about living a long, fulfilling life, what we find is and there's been research done, we call them blue zones, right? People who live over 100 years old. Sure, they are active. That's a big thing. Sure, they all have specific nutrition or diets. But here's the fun part: we always talk about diets and what works and what doesn't. Well, the truth is that a lot of their nutrition is very different, from a more Mediterranean style to a more vegetarian style to a more carnivore style. In these blue zones, what we find is it's not really the food as much it is, or the certain kinds of food is as much as it is whole foods, right? Because they're investing in eating real food, not one that was made in a manufacturer 1,000 miles away from your home and brought to you in a box with 10,000 preservatives in it. That's a talk for another day. But the idea is, in these blue zones, they're volunteering their time. They're giving their time to other people without expectations. Now, I know I'm going to strike a chord here with you, but how many times in your life have you not done something because you didn't get anything out of it? How many times in your life have you thought about doing something, but then you decided against it because you remembered that person wasn't there for you? You see, volunteering and performing small acts of kindness, it connects us more deeply with others. Whether it's a little selfish or not to do it now because you know it's good for your health, it's it's still going to help, right? So I want to challenge you guys to, do one act of service this week. It might be helping a neighbor or just supporting a local cause. Little steps are really going to shift your whole perspective on this. So let's try it, you guys. Love and volunteering. And love is, honestly, to me, that's God. That's the higher entity. That's the higher being. We talk about frequencies and where we're vibrating at. We know that hate, lust, and fear, they're all lower vibrations. And I would consider that the devil, right? If you would, the devil comes in different forms. He's not just a guy with a beard and long horns. He is in your thoughts every single day. If you connect to a more demonic, lower state, then I guarantee you're going to find more things in your life. And we'll get into this correspondence here down below. You'll find that more in your life. The universe will continue to bring that into your life. So how do we bring these spiritual practices into our daily life? So these practices, like meditation, prayer, yoga, it's going to help center our minds and our hearts. We're going to be more focused, and we can even use what I talked about with the Hermetic Principles. This book here, this is something that I found on an audiobook, and I'm going to share it with you guys. I actually have a PDF for you guys at the end of this with 10 recommended books, and almost all of them had the full free audiobook on YouTube. So you're welcome. I did the hard work for you. All you have to do is find one, pick that, and whatever one resonates with you, just start listening to it on a daily basis. And we'll talk about how you can do that more on that PDF too. But anyway, the Kabbalion. This was a book that I actually read on audio a few years ago, and it really opened up my eyes, because to find these people, the three initiates who wrote this book in the early 1900s about not a Greek god, sorry, an Egyptian god mixed with the Greek god. His name was Hermes Trismegistus. Right, that's a mouthful there. But anyway, Hermes covered there was 4 to 7 core principles or values that they talked about. And the 4 I really wanted to highlight was mentalism, correspondence, vibration, and of course the last one, which is polarity, right? So with mentalism, he says, as above, so below. So the mind is all we have. The universe is really mental. So your thoughts and consciousness, it underpins your reality. So what are you thinking? Your inner world is going to shape your outer experiences, right? And then that ties into correspondence. And this is really that, as above, so below pattern. You see these patterns in life. They repeat across different levels. So on a micro level, it might just be you as a person, your mind, how you are, your personality. How does that reflect on the macro level, the universe? If you're someone who wakes up every day and you're in a negative attitude or a negative state of thinking, I'm always late, or I'm in a place of lack. I never have enough. The bills just keep coming and they keep piling on top of each other. Well, the universe is only focused on what you're corresponding with. So it's going to continue to bring that into your life. Instead, I have to wake up every morning. I got to say, I'm grateful. I'm so excited to be here. Today is a chance to change the actions that bring me to the person I want to be. Today is a chance to love and to give to other people, even though I might not feel like it, even though I might not get anything out of it right in that moment. And then the last one, which is polarity, right? And polarity is the idea that there's always going to be two opposite sides of the spectrum, that yin and yang, right? Day and night. You can't have the crest without the trough, or you can't have man, why can't I think right now? You can't have the masculinity without femininity, right? Of course, I'm not going to get into that discussion, but there's a spectrum, and you're either on one side or the other. There's good and there's evil, right? We can feel this. We know this. We don't have to be a religious person to know that there's good and evil in this world. So how are we going to use this to help? Think about some of these timeless figures and some of their teachings. So who are some good ones that we think about? Of course, you have, and I'm going to kind of go in order in just a second, but you have Jesus Christ. That's an easy one. What does he stand for? He stands for love and forgiveness. That's the most important teachings that he brings. Buddha, he talks about mindfulness and he talks about non-attachment. So he talks about how do we get ourselves to detach from this materialistic world, right? I want a new car. I want a new house. I want this, and it must have this, and this, and this. I want a head full of hair. Geez, why can't I have these things that I want, right? And why me? Poor me. We start to fall into these victim mentalities, and we realize that we need to be more like a Stoic. We need to be more like Epictetus or Marcus Aurelius, who was around in the 1st to 4th century, right? And what did they believe in? They believed in controlling what you can control, which are your thoughts and your actions, and not worrying so much about the things you can't control, which are, the things that happen to you in life, right? Did they happen for you or did they happen to you? That's up for you to decide. And I find, and I've talked about this before, the only difference between surviving or thriving is simple. It's how you deal with your problems. So are you just going to deal with your problems as they come to you, these negative things in your life, and are you going to allow them to take over your actions and to take over your emotions, right? So when we talk about Hermes Trismegistus and his hermetic laws of reality, we know that it's really all about where your mentality is, where you're corresponding with, and how are we going to use this to dig deep into introspection? How are we going to use this to realize that our mental state actually shapes our reality, right? So even though these people might be centuries apart, these teachers, and they are real, right? These people were real. In fact, that's what the history says. But even though they're centuries apart, they all echo the same call: be kind, be mindful, and seek wisdom. Here we go. So how do we make it fun? Like I said before, spirituality shouldn't be a chore. If it seems like a drag to you, if it seems boring, if it doesn't seem fun, you're not practicing the right religious beliefs, or you're not looking in the right corners, you're not talking to the right people. Because I promise you, if you just grab a Bible, you open up, you start reading it, it's probably not going to be the way for you. It's not going to say, man, this is, sure. I promise you that something I have done in my life is I would say, universe, please, what do you want me to know? And I'll open up a book, and I just open this book, and it says, intuition speaks to us in the present without worrying about the past or future, because it knows it is creating both, right? Like things like that. The universe will tell you what you need to know, but you must open your ears. You must be opening your eyes and your heart and be open-minded during this process. So I don't want to guilt trip you into becoming more spiritual. That's not what I want. If none of this resonates with you, then none of it resonates. But we want to make it enjoyable. So if prayer just feels it doesn't feel right to you to pray. I will say that me personally, I never really got down, and I have before in my life, got down on my knees and prayed up by my bed before I went to sleep. And there were times where it just felt weird to me. It didn't feel right. But that doesn't mean that in my mind, I'm not talking to a higher creator, a higher, divine spirituality, or our one and only creator, God. It's not that, right? So if that doesn't seem fun to you, that doesn't seem like comfortable for you, then maybe just try journaling, writing down your thoughts, maybe a gratitude list. What are you grateful for? 3 things. Just give me 3 things before you go to bed. 3 things you're grateful for. If sitting down and meditating doesn't seem right for you, then walk and meditate. Just clear your mind. That's what it's about. Cook and meditate. Sometimes I'll work out and I'll throw in an audio clip, whether it's listening to a book or it's listening to something that calms me down, brings me into the present moment. That is important. So one other action step I have for you here is I want you guys to choose one spiritual practice, a short meditation, maybe a sacred text that I shared with you in the PDS, or focusing on some of those Hermetic principles we talked about. Do it daily for a week. Observe how it impacts you and your overall life, and report back to me. I want to know. I want to know if anything changes or you see things just a little bit different. So we've explored, universal spirituality, discipline, services, Hermetic principles. We talked a little bit about those teachers. Again, this is not to dive into one subject and say, here's the Bible. We need to open up the page to 367. We're going to do a whole long chat. No, it's just to give you an idea that you can piece it all together. You can find the missing pieces and you can find what resonates with you and use it, because I promise you, your life is going to be so much better with some sort of faith attached to it, with something to keep you grounded, right? So this is going to complement your physical pillar as well, because again, it kind of talks about discipline, right? With exercising, choosing to exercise versus choosing to lay down on a couch, right? Your mental health, it's going to help with your mindset. It's going to help with emotional regulation and well-being. So again, choose that action step. Choose one new spiritual practice. And I just want to read this quote down here. Spirituality is a journey. Embrace consistent, small steps. Let curiosity and love guide your actions. Love is the biggest one. The more I lead with love, the more I find good things to return themselves to me. And it's a beautiful thing. So what I want to do now is I want to pray. And like I said before, if this doesn't resonate with you, if this doesn't feel good with you, you can stop right here. Take that PDF, take whatever you want and go. But this isn't a prayer to just God. This isn't a prayer to just Jesus. This is a prayer to the divine source, whoever designed us, right? Because once you get into health, once you get into the understanding of the human anatomy, you realize this isn't a fluke. There's no way you can convince me 2 germs did the thing, millions of years ago. And then we all of a sudden, evolution, and boom, here we are. Well, first you got to explain the 200,000 years that we lost. And we don't understand how our brain went from that limbic lizard brain to this neofrontal cortex where we're able to think and do things that no other species can do. So let us just pray. Divine source, infinite spirit, we come together in humility and gratitude. Open our hearts and minds to the power that lies within us and the truth that resonates through all traditions, right? Protect us on this journey, this spiritual journey, heal on our past traumas, and mend our broken hearts. May our willingness to learn and our commitment to love guide us toward wholeness and compassion. Unite us with one another in understanding and mutual respect, so that strengthened by faith, however we defined it, we continue to grow, give, and receive love as our best, highest selves. Amen, and may it be so. I hope this resonates with you guys. And like I said, I might have, flew through this and didn't cover some certain parts, but it's because I want to give you the opportunity to discover some truths yourself. They're out there. There's people that lived before us, hundreds to thousands of years ago, and they try to bring out certain truths. And we find there's a lot of correlation between certain religions, whether it's the Bible or the Quran. I haven't read those books. I'll be honest with you. I'm still discovering my truths myself. But I know that I'm connected to faith. I know that I'm connected to something higher than me, something greater than me, whether that's Jesus Christ himself, or that's, a more of a Hinduist approach, Buddhist approach, whatever it is, whatever you connect with, there's a discipline. There's something in there to be found that's valuable to you and that can help shape your life and the children that come after you, change their lives for the better. Because I know one thing in this world: the more confused we become, the more uncertain we become about our reality, the sicker we get, the faster we die. That's what I've discovered. That's what I've found through observation and observing others, seeing some people that I might not want to be like. But of course, I talk about how comparison is the thief of joy. So I try not to compare, but it's hard not to observe, right? Keep that in mind. And I really do, I hope that you find some connection, you find some faith that you can attach to, and find that it's going to help better your life. Stop with the negativity. Stop with, the negative self-talk and beating yourself up every day because God isn't giving you the life you thought you had or wanted, right? And blaming him. Oh, God, if you don't give me this, I'll stop believing in you. It's not how he works. God, just talk to me. Show me some paranormal activity. Move this marker. Slap me in the head. Please show me that you're real. That's not how he works. So faith and the freedom of free will to choose to be and do whatever you please, you can do it. But if you were here today, if you stuck with me through this whole talk, then I know deep down you do want to change and you want to be a better person. So for that, I thank you. Have a great day. Talk soon.